production innovation and production creation. So let's proceed with the interview.
Let me start by saying that the MAS family, MAS stands for Mahesh, Ajay and Sharon. These are three brothers. But they were part of a larger textile family in the 50s and 60s called the Nagindas Group. As the brothers grew up, in 1986, they wanted to leave that business and be their own bosses. So in 1986, they left the family business of textile and they became MAs. So in 1986, Mahesh, who is the older brother, he felt that he can be a manufacturer. At that time, the apparel industry was very small in Sri Lanka. And there was a group of Sri Lankan industrialists who were going to the US through the EDU. And Mahesh went along as a young entrepreneur and businessman to meet the American government. So in that, there was garments that were shown, and Mahesh picked this one garment, which is a lingerie from Victoria's Secret. So at that time, he had not produced even one piece like that. But he was an entrepreneur and he had a gut feeling that he can do it. So on that day, he said, okay, I can do this. And then he came back to Sri Lanka, and then he spoke to the brothers, and then they invested in a small number of machines. When I say a small number, it's less than 100. And I believe that these machines were actually fixed by the brothers themselves, and they started their journey. So that was in 1986. So the baseline of this corporate MAs is based on family values. So Mahesh's mother and father had very good values, and these children were born in that way. So this organization started from there with those values. So I believe that's the beginning of MAs. So let's talk a little bit about the industry itself. So this industry is, whether you like it or not, a tailoring industry. We said MAS is the innovations company. So we have multiple different arms at MAS. The sewing, the knitting, the mills that we have, the backward integration, that means the trims, which is the bra cups, elastics, everything that you require, all those are different parts of the industry. Then we have a software and IT sector of the industry. We have the finance part, we have the HR part, we have the commercial, we have all these parts that make this company. So, it all depends on what university you're coming from, what your background is. So in Sri Lanka, we have Callan University, we have Moratulla, we have Peradeniya as I think the three that we have the most amount of students from locally. But then now you have lots of young ones who go overseas and we bring multiple different skill sets. So, if you take the core, garment technical, design, product engineering, industrial engineering are some of the core functions. But then on top of that, you have a lot of CIMAs at MAS. Anybody who, I have worked at MAS for 15 years, I have a lot of respect for people who have the CIMA background. Their ability to understand the problem and do multiple things and multitask is many. So, yes, we have very deep technical and engineering roles. We have HR, and then we also have the finance roles and the people who are from CIM who can actually do merchandising. It doesn't have to be a merchandising course. We just need people who can think, who can do a job till the end, who can take responsibility, who can work in a team. That's the team. If you can't work in a team, you can be the best person from the best university. Your life is not going to go very far. So, very good question. As I previously mentioned, so we have core functions at MAS that drive the core part of the business. So those are more garment techs, industrial engineers who run the floor, people with that mindset. That won't go away. It has been there for the last 30 years. It will be there for the next 30 years. There are some new skill sets that are coming in the horizon that we need to be ready with. And have had multiple conversations with universities to ask them, saying, are you thinking about these new skills that you require for the future workforce or future generation? What does the factory of the future look like? What does apparel industry in the future look like? So I think the industry is thinking like that, and we believe that universities need to start thinking about those skills and build it into their curriculum. So, for instance, one of the things is the factories currently have thousands of people. The car industry is already automated. The apparel industry is going there. So then what skill would you need for that? You may need software skills, you may need programming skills, you may need, the mechanics will need to know how to repair and maintain and manage the new automated machines, because they were not taught that 10 years ago. So, are you ready in the university to work with automated machines? So that is one. The industrial engineering won't go away, but the new industrial engineer will need to know new things. So, is the university ready for that? We have designers who come. Design doesn't mean drawing. You know, lots of people would say design is sketching or being able to draw nicely. Yes, that's one element. Most designers have a creative background, but what we are looking for is designers who can make. How can you take your thought from a design to creation of the design? If you are a designer who can actually design, create your own pattern, sew or program that, then we want you tomorrow. So this is a big message. I think we are now looking at programming. So we have a lot of code. In this industry, we didn't have code in the past, but now in circular knit, flat knit, a lot of knitting technologies require some coding. So coding specialists are not creative traditionally. But what I am looking for now is a coding specialist who is creative. So now which university is going to solve that problem? So we have to be mindful of that. So what we do is we hire a designer who is creative and teach the designer coding. That means you have a creative mindset and you are able to let your fingers program what you have in your mind. So that is still very, very little. We don't have lots of these people. So if you ask me, one of the key requirements is that. So there are many like that which we need to gear ourselves for the future. What we did in the last 30 years won't help us in the next 30. So I think in the last 10-15 minutes we spoke a lot about MAS, we spoke about the country, we spoke about the industry, we spoke about the number of people that we have at MAS, what kind of facilities and the culture, we spoke about the values. So most of what I just said earlier also apply to this question, but I am saying a few other things. So one is, MAS is known as an innovation company, not as an apparel company anymore. So that's one of the reasons why MAS. We are no longer a core sewing company, we do a lot of things. MAS has been known to be the best employer of choice in Sri Lanka. The LNB magazine, so many other magazines and forums have picked MAS the employer of choice. So I think that it saves a lot. It's been voted as the top 3 companies in Sri Lanka for the last 10 years. So it's always in the top 3. The difference is we are a private company, we are not a public quoted. If we were a public quoted company, I still think that will be the case, that won't change. We are known to be an ethical company. Like I said, we are the most compliant, most sustainable, we care for the people, so all of that, the people know. So that is another reason. It's a company run by a family. So we spoke about the values. That's another very good reason. And of course, we have nurtured so many leaders in the last 30 years. If you talk to our chairman, he will be proud to say that most leaders who have been at MAS, our leaders are now in banks, not only in our competitor companies, but in other industries. So he sees that as a huge plus. We are almost like the university for management in Sri Lanka. So first of all, we have two types of people who will come to MAS. One is people who are already in the industry, who are looking for progression in career, or who is looking for an opportunity. We have multiple people who come. Some through advertisements they see it. Some just send their CVs in and hope there will be an opening. So it doesn't matter. We have HR departments in each of the businesses, as well as we have an MAS HR. So one I would advise is if you're ready as a person who is not coming out of university, even if there is no position, you may send your CV, because there is a large CV bank and opportunities come every day. So if there was no opportunity today, and when you check tomorrow, that opportunity might be there. So keep checking. That's the first. Second one is for young people like you all who are coming from universities. It all depends on the background, right? So earlier I said there may be somebody who did government technical, industrial engineering, design, electrical engineering. It could be your core. So you would always look for something in your core. You would look for opportunity, you would look for internship. We have so many internships that university students come and do with us. They do it before they pass out, they spend 6 months with us. So then you're on our radar. When you get that internship opportunity, make sure that you show all your colors. Right? So we say that. Show what you're capable of. That also gives you the opportunity to learn the corporate culture. We'll talk as we go on about phases of life. You have the phase 1 of life, which is up to where you are passing out from university. You may be supported by your mother or father, or brother, sister, or someone. You'll be supported by family. You'll go through that phase. You'll be struggling through your studies. You'll be cramming for exams. You want to get these marks to get your certificate and be qualified. So that's your life's first phase. The phase 2 is, now that we have this qualification, we look for the right opportunity, come to places like MAS, and then start your career. So the 22 years to about 40, 45 years is your phase 2, which is your performance years. This is when everything you learn, whether it's values, whether it's the core function, which is electrical engineering or government technical or whatever that background is, you use it to your maximum. But it doesn't mean that because you studied electrical engineering, you have to be an electrical engineer. You have to keep your horizon broad. So this is very important for young students. We may sometimes wake up one day when we are 8 years old and say, I want to be an astronaut. Right? So a lot of people say that, I want to go to the moon, or I want to be a pilot. I said that. When I was 8, I said I want to be a pilot. When I was 13, I wanted to be a national cricketer. When I was 18, I didn't know what I wanted. I was confused. Right? So we all go through this. But then, the ideal role that I would have liked to be is a coach. But am I a coach today? Maybe, because I'm coaching through my work. But I wanted to be a sports coach. But I became a leader in a apparel company. Now, am I going to say that I am not interested in this job? I'm very interested. I would have liked to be a coach. So life can take you in various directions. Why am I saying this is, yes, you need the background, you need that core competency to take you the first step, but once you get there, let your ability, let your IQ, your emotional intelligence take you on a path, right? Sometimes we get paid more doing a certain job. So our motivation might be, okay, I have electrical engineering, but the job that pays me is not electrical engineering, it requires only very little. So that's a decision you need to make. Now, am I going to sacrifice a good earning salary just to say no, unless I get an electrical engineer's job, I won't do anything else? I don't think we should do that. That's your base, but keep your horizon open. So that's the way I think that to get into MAS, we are looking for people who are able to go deep, but also go far and be finishers, people who are able to finish a job, take a responsibility, work in a team. We should be able to give you something and forget about it. So that's the kind of new workforce we will be looking for. So this is for all the graduates who are coming. Your phase 2 is when you leave university, and that's when the real life starts. Okay, so we earlier spoke about challenges, phase 1, life's phase 2, it starts at 22 to 44 is life's second phase. That's the time when we establish ourselves in our career, we get married, we may decide to build a house, we always want to own a car, we may have kids and have a family, we want to move to Colombo, or so all these aspirations could be lived or fulfilled during this phase 2. So how do you juggle all this? So I think that's one. You need to be smart. We said earlier, IQ should be at a certain level. Don't be narrow in your thinking. What happens is when we leave school and leave university, we are always taught to think within a framework, because studies is within the framework. It doesn't allow you to be creative beyond that. You don't get extra marks for thinking beyond the book. But in life, you have to think beyond the book. You have to be smart beyond what you learn. You have to take everything around you as a sponge. So that means you learn from every experience. Between 22 and 44, life is a university, right? So you have left your academic years, but it doesn't stop. Learning is an absolute must during your journey 22 to 44. Learn from everybody around you. Learn from every incident, from every action that people do. Inspire yourself from leaders who are around you. Pick on somebody who you want to follow, whether it's a national leader, whether it's your boss, whether it's a president of a country or someone outside of the country. Follow them. But following somebody doesn't mean that you lose your identity. You have to create your own identity also. People want to follow you, right? So create that new identity where people want to follow you. So that's one. Second thing is, we are all winners. It's whether we know it or not, right? God has given all mankind the same hands and legs, same eyes and ears when we are born. It's how we practice and build the confidence. So, if you take an Olympic athlete, he runs 10 seconds. But did he just come and run 10 seconds today? You can't do that. He would have trained for a minimum of 4 years and up to 6 years for the next Olympics to run that 10 seconds. So, life is not a sprint. We have sprints in between that we have to be ready for those running times, but you need to be ready for the long haul. You need to be able to endure a lot for a longer period. We can't give up on life. Nowadays we see lots of young people giving up on life because they had one situation or one incident, one heartbreaking, one exam that was failed, one parental problem, one issue of money. That is not the way. Every one of these learnings is part of the journey. We have all gone through it. You speak to any leader, he will tell you life-defining moments that have changed the way he thinks and behaves and acts, and what that helped him to be a leader. I can tell you 10 stories of mine, so we can do that on another day. But I'm saying life is not a sprint. It's a marathon, but within that marathon you may have some short sprints that you have to get ready for. So the next thing, I will say the last thing, is you have to be humble. You have to learn from everyone. Don't be arrogant. Help people. The whole idea in life is to not only help yourself, but help people around you. Love your neighbor. love your friends, have relationships, keep in touch with people, don't get lost at work, have time for your family. All this is important. So this time between 22 and 44, you all will find everything that I said is not going to be easy. Right? We spend 10 hours at work, 1 hour in the morning and 1 hour in the night on the road, in a bus or a car or a bike. Then you go home, you have 2-3 hours time where you're awake, and then you sleep. So how do you manage your time? So time management becomes critical. The final thing is be spiritual. Everybody needs to practice some kind of spirituality. Now, spirituality may not always be religion, right? So you may have somebody who doesn't believe in religion, but doesn't mean that that person can't be spiritual. Spirituality is how we self-center ourselves, be truthful to yourself, not to the world, have your values intact. So that's all part of being spiritual. Being religious is believing in a God, whatever religion you're in, doing the right thing, because every religion says almost the top 5 things are the same thing. So I am saying that you need to be spiritual and practice religion because that will take you through tough times. And that's one thing that we all fall back on. So that's some advice for the second phase, 22 to 44. So again, thank you for the opportunity to be able to talk to all of you and inspire you for your phase 2 of life. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the LED KLN Club. I think this is my second interaction. Last year I spent some time at the annual forum. Truly amazing. So this is leadership, doing these kind of programs, working as a team across, I think, a couple of years. You guys are not in 1 year, so that's amazing. In most universities that will be really tough to go by. Please do reach out to me for future, and I would like to spend as much time as I can with Callan University and the club, and have a great one.